Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Wade Whittenberg, Strategic Account Managers at Ritchie Brothers. Thanks for joining me, Wade.
Hello, glad to be here.
It's great to have you on the program. Look forward to kind of hearing more about your career and digging further into Ritchie Brothers and what they do in equipment finance. I know our paths first crossed, I think, when we were on the ELFA service provider committee a few years back. So it's been a pleasure to get to know you over the last couple of years, but appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today, sir.
Happy to be here. Like I say, ELFA is a great organization just for that, to be able to mix, mingle, get to know people, and develop that networking.
Well, perfect. So I'm just going to jump right off, right, if you don't mind. For those people who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, Wade, sure there's not many of them at this point in your career.
Yeah, I'm old.
It's not what I was saying. It's not what I was saying. I think I probably have more gray hair than you, just for the record. But do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and your career to date in equipment finance?
No, not at all. Been with Ritchie Brothers since January of 2001. So going way back, I was actually the first person Ritchie Brothers hired to begin working specifically with banks and finance companies. Prior to that, I had worked for a Deere dealership briefly, had worked for Manitowoc Manufacturing, particularly in their boom truck group, and also in the kind of tailgater forklifts, and worked for USTC, again, boom trucks that was purchased by Manitowoc. Uh, Also worked for Cabelco for a long time. And last position there was doing dealer development. That helped me with a lot that I was doing here, and had worked for a equipment financing company called Nice Nisho EY equipment financing back when the Japanese trading companies were very dominant in the U.S. market with their products coming over, and that helped me with a lot of finance background. And then back in the beginning, after getting out of school, worked for an offshore crane manufacturing company. Actually graduated with a degree in geology and a second major in business. And so at that time, with petroleum geology, it's either boom or bust. And it was bust. And so went to work for that company and worked for one of their engineers, which was a great introductory into business because he was so organized, so specific. The record keeping was meticulous because with cranes, if anything goes wrong, you're on the news and you're in the courtroom.
That's fair. That's fair. I was going to ask you how you went from geology to finance, but that definitely makes
I
sense.
needed to pay bills.
Hey, I've seen some of these crystals or rocks on display. There's some money in that too, but probably just not as much.
There is. But every once in a while, I'll surprise people. I'll be out at a job site and be looking at the rock layers or different things like that, and come out with some kind of comment, and they're kind of give me that sideways look, like, "Excuse me, what?"
That's fantastic. Do you get to fuel that passion at all?
A little bit, like I say, out on job sites, or right now are living vicariously through my son. He just graduated, received his master's degree in geology, and is now working for a mining company, and also newly married. I mean, within a matter of weeks, newly married.
Oh,
And so
congratulations.
great that he's out of school, married, and employed. All those wonderful things.
You just get random photos every now and then where it's like, hey, check this out.
Oh yeah, was really interesting. He was at one of their mine sites, and they do a lot of aggregate mining for road building, uh, concrete manufacture. They do limestone, so they break it all apart. And out in Orlando, found a shark's tooth that was like this big.
Oh, wow.
So one of the old prehistoric. So he knows what to look for and what's on site and everything. So that was pretty cool to see when he puts it in the palm of his hand and it takes up the palm of his hand.
It's like a megalodon tooth, just like
Exactly.
there. That's fantastic. And
So,
here we are.
there's the background. But again, the last over 20 years have been with Ritchie Brothers. So I've seen and been involved with a lot of our evolution from where we were at that time, where it was strictly absolute unreserved auction. Everything came over the ramp. The old Saturday night skit, cheeseburger, cheeseburger, Pepsi, Pepsi. You could have what we had, and that was it. If you wanted something else, if you wanted a chicken sandwich, you went someplace else. And to see where we are today, the diversity of products, the analytics, it's been an interesting journey.
Fantastic. We'll dive into Richie in 1 second. So, from I guess, roles at these organizations that you've been a part of over your career, has it always been more on the strategic account side or finance side? Have you like? Do you mind just kind of talking about what different roles you've had in these organizations, Wade?
No, going all the way back to Cabelco, one of the first things was just the organizational set of skills learned from the previous employer with regard to just bringing some logic to it. I mean, back then they were so loose. Biggest transformational idea was, hey, written purchase orders. Believe it or not, that was the thing back then. They were so loose. The dollar to yen ratio was so great that you couldn't help but make money. It was, like I said, looking back on it, you just have to laugh. But bringing that to it, and then with the banks, finance companies, a lot of it was in the field work, doing the TM, working directly with dealers. Most of it's been through dealers, being the liaison between the manufacturer and the dealer. So you get that perspective of, obviously you're being paid by the manufacturer, so you know what their priorities are. But you have to
Sure.
respect what the dealers need to do to achieve their goals, to be profitable, to keep the name out there, not only your name, unless you're a cat dealer, you're going to represent multiple brands. So you've got to have a kind of an appreciation and respect for what the dealers have to do. If not, you're not going to be successful. And so working through that, and then the last position at Cabelco was doing dealer development. That helped a whole lot in learning kind of what you have to do if you need to separate yourself from a dealer, or if you're looking to attract those dealers to represent your brands. And so that experience, the working with banks and finance companies, and position I had immediately following that, have really helped me out a lot in the position I've had with Ritchie Brothers for a long time, because you have that awareness of what's important at all the different customer levels, whether it's the end user, whether it's the dealer that's doing the marketing, whether it's the finance company and what their goals are, and also what their risks are. So you got to
Sure.
have that
Sure.
appreciation for it.
Sure. No, that makes complete sense, and thank you for sharing that. So, how many miles have you flown, or is a lot of this driving? Like,
Texas is a big place, so there's not a lot of areas you drive to. You're not going to drive to El Paso unless you have a couple days. Uh, usually, usually Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, San Antonio, maybe New Orleans. But if you're only going to be there for a day, um, uh, Southwest loves me. I get Christmas cards from them, as far as just bouncing around, all that. So yeah, uh,
that's fair.
I do that a lot. So I'm at their top tier, and then with United, I've got 1.5 million miles with them. So you've got
Wow.
that, and then with the hotels, I've got over 1,300 nights with Marriott's, and that's just Marriott. That's not all the others. So yeah, you
So,
are. So what that tells you is I have an incredibly wonderful and patient wife.
That was
And
going to be my question I was going to ask, especially, you mentioned, newly, um, wed son. And it's like, and I know I'm bouncing all over our agenda here, so I apologize, but just the fluidity of this conversation, I think, is important to people, where it's like that work-life balance. For as much as you were on the road, we had the pleasure of meeting your wife a few times, and then what that does to the family dynamic, Wade, like, it, let's just have that conversation if you don't mind.
sure. A lot of people know Shelley. She's just wonderful, incredibly supportive. um, Manages everything while I'm out doing what I do, and makes it possible. I mean, to the point where she manages my expense reports. So I'm not worried about showing her. So my boss really appreciates that, because he knows if I'm not afraid to show my wife my expense report, they're probably okay.
I see. I like it. I like it.
So it's definitely a team effort. And what we were discussing before the call, she knows a lot about equipment now and markets and everything else. He hears the calls, and she's got a good read on when things are going well, when they're not. And one of the funniest things was, we were actually at one of our conferences. She met a guy at the pool and got him to consign a drag line. This was in San Antonio. She knows enough about it, whatever, put him in touch with me, one of these other pieces. And he was so excited, because it's something he had inherited from his father. It was just going to rust away. And I forget, it sold for like $65,000, went to Mexico. And that was part of his college fund for his kids. It made a difference. And so
Did she get a commission off that?
she got a very nice dinner. But yeah, I've been very fortunate to be able to include her in a lot of the trips, a lot of the shows. When I like the ELFA annual, that traditionally falls over our anniversary. And this
Okay.
last year, it was our 39th anniversary. And
Okay.
so she attends a lot of those. And in general, when I meet people there, it's kind of like, oh, hi, Wade, where's Shelley? you know? So, um, but we've been doing that for a long time. And what's amazing is, for more than, half our marriage, she's, not only, put up with me, but put up with Ritchie Brothers. And that's a lot. That's like measuring, years and dog years. It's just, yeah.
That's that's fantastic. Uh, and then,
Very
as
supportive, very wonderful, and very important to be able to do what I've been able to do for as long as I've been able to do it. The travel required, the late nights. People know when they get emails from me, a lot of times it's late and
yeah,
things, and
yeah,
you've got that type of support and
sure,
manage
sure,
things.
sure. I know it's not easy. I think I'm on the road quite a bit, but not. I don't. I really don't drive anywhere. I mean, when I was on the East Coast, yeah, you
Yeah,
could drive, but in Arizona, you're not driving anywhere.
no,
I got like 1.5 million miles on United. Southwest, I cheat every now and then when I have to get to California fast and Texas fast, and I don't feel like flying through Denver. I'll do Southwest, but it's the whole like seating thing where just kind of, they can get like a little panicked, where it's like, what do you mean I don't have a seat? Like, come on. Now I
oh
guess
yeah,
that's changing. Now I guess that's
yeah.
changing.
Well, you get really spoiled to the tiers and where you are and the programs and everything else. You get to be a real prima donna. I know I have. I'll admit it. It's kind of
Hey,
like,
hey, that up in the air movie had a few things right. And it's like, yeah, no. It's like, this is my hotel. This is what I'm doing. I don't want to avoid disruptions. Travel's hard enough as it is. Leave me alone.
yep, I've got a plan.
But when you travel with Shelly, when one person get upgrades, on United, that goes to her, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I've got that, and then same thing. On Southwest, like I said, she
We
gets to
always
travel with me, and
we always sit there and it's like, oh, there's one spot available.
Yeah.
not even a question anymore.
No,
Go
there's
ahead.
not. There you go,
Go ahead.
sweetie. Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Don't worry. I'm not gonna hold this against you later. Uh, that's awesome. So I know we went into a little bit of what Ritchie Brothers does, but do you mind just kind of introducing, the organization, Wade, and just different markets it's in?
No, not at all. A lot of people have heard of and are aware of, but maybe they don't know that Ritchie Brothers is a publicly traded company. We trade on the New York and Toronto exchanges. Recently gone through a rebranding where it's now RB Global, and that more accurately represents our presentation to the market, both North American, European, Australian, every like I said, the equipment we deal with can work anywhere, anytime, for the most part. Uh, Everybody knows us for the heavy yellow iron because that's what stands out. You're kind of like, oh wow, that's a D11. That's really impressive. Nobody realizes when they're looking at a truck tractor or a pickup or whatever that Ritchie Brothers sells more used titled equipment than anybody else in the world with all the different things that have VIN numbers, whether they're trailers, whether they're trucks or pickup trucks or whatever. The volume, especially over the last few years, has just been incredible. But so for over the road transportation, heavy haul, any type of that, the utility, uh, heavy construction, people are aware of that for the most part. Mining, but not really subsurface. We don't do that as much. Very, very specific, and so much of that stuff just stays down there. So,
Okay.
forestry, material handling, whether it's forklifts or whether it's cranes, whatever type, because you look at any type of heavy duty crane and it can work anywhere in the world. It doesn't care whether it's in New York or California or UK or Australia, whatever. And so that's how the business originally developed and grew and expanded because the products were internationally accepted. Now, granted, if you're dealing with a truck tractor, it's going to stay in North America. It's not going to Australia. Steering wheel's on the wrong side. So you've got those limitations.
Sure.
But for a lot of the assets, they can work anywhere in the world. And I mean, even smaller things like scissor lifts or things like that. Guess what? You can load up a container full of those and ship them anywhere you want to. So there's a lot of that diversity. And then with what we do in the energy field or utility sector, a lot of diversity. Um,
Okay.
but we do not try to be all things to all people. There are plenty of companies out there that say yes to everything, whether it's marine, aircraft, pharmaceutical, machine tool, whatever. Um, hey, I have a hard enough time trying to be a expert or at least marginally knowledgeable about all the different things I get from the banks. I mean, the bankers amaze me with the diversity of what they deal with and how fluid they are. Well, I was just dealing with a dry cleaning shop. Now I've got a crane to deal with, and after that, I have this little barge that works in brown water, and it's gone. Okay, yeah. And so like I say, I've got all the respect in the world for all those asset managers because of juggling all the time, how much they're doing and trying to keep in front, and it's impressive.
Sure.
Not an easy job.
No, no. And I definitely understand the whole core competency thing. Yeah. Now,
Yeah,
however,
because
if I was a pilot and I know how to fly a plane, yeah, let's go repossess some airplanes, right? It's a great show.
well, that's why I try to let people know very quickly is when they come to me with some asset or some category, okay, is this something that we're good at? Because I'm not bashful about telling them if we are, no hesitation there. But I also try to be self-aware enough to know that, hey, this is something we probably shouldn't do. Or I will tell them that, look, can we do this? Yes. Should we do this? Probably not. You
Sure.
probably have other people you can go to that might get you a higher return on this. If you need us to do this for audit purposes, just to run it through an audit friendly way of disposing of the asset, okay, I can help you out there, but we may not get you the highest return. And so different things like that.
And then one thing I recently learned is the way that you guys can educate the marketplace on equipment values and everything else to asset managers. You mind just kind of talking about
Oh,
that product
well,
offering, Wade?
that's just part of the what we hope is added value that we bring to the market, and we can do more than sell things. And so for quite a while, we've been doing what we call equipment valuation workshops, where we'll bring people either to our sales sites, walk them around the yard, let them see the actual equipment,
Hmm.
or we can go to their sites and we can, in a office environment, do a PowerPoint, all that. But it's so great when we get them out to the yard because we have so many new asset managers, kind of risk managers that are in there. And they started during COVID when nobody could travel or anything like that, or just before, and budgets have been compressed, so they weren't letting people out of their offices or cubicles. And so, to them, doing equipment research is this.
Yeah.
And so there's so much more to it. It's
Sure.
kind of like, let me get you out there and show you that, hey, it's three-dimensional. Here's a rock truck or an articulated dump truck, or here's a class 8 over the road truck tractor. Let's open the doors. Let's show you inside. That way you have an appreciation. And so much of that is I can't make anybody an expert in a day or two. Probably could make anybody an expert in a week, but you take a look at it and they walk away with the understanding of kind of how much they don't know and how
Sure.
much the people they're talking to probably do.
Sure.
So if you have that awareness, I think it puts you in a much better position, whether you're negotiating or just having a discussion. You have that awareness, and it allows them to speak from the first person perspective of, I have been in a truck, or I have seen this, I know what this is. And with a lot of these people, I've been dealing with really smart people. They simply don't have the experience. They haven't had an opportunity to learn, to look at, to go visit and go see. And so, like I say, sharp people, but you start with some of the fundamental questions, like if you're dealing with a truck tractor, and you do it in a way that's in no way condescending or threatening, which everything can be. And you start off with, hey, do you know what a fifth wheel is on a truck tractor? Because there's nothing intuitive about that until somebody goes and points and goes, this is a fifth wheel. You have no idea. It doesn't make any sense at all. Your brain goes, fifth wheel, but there's no fifth wheel. They're talking about the steering wheel. What the? And so until somebody shows them, but once you show them, they never forget. They're fine. Do you know the difference between a motor grader and a motor scraper? Okay, they sound very similar and everything, but they do completely different things. If you don't have that awareness, and for me, if I don't know what their understanding is, we can miscommunicate really easily, and that can get
Sure.
very expensive very fast
Sure.
because I'm saying things assuming they're picturing specific items, and if they're not, yeah, things go sideways really quick. And so that's why we offer these type of workshops, everything where I'll either meet people at a sales site, help them out. I can mail them this. Sorry, it's a equipment valuation guidebook. We publish this, and it goes through ag equipment, construction, transportation, energy, and it's just kind of like a equipment 101. And
Okay.
it gives you a chance to look up who are the manufacturers, certain types of equipment, and helps you kind of educate yourself before you start picking up this and just narrow down, but this will give you a little broader research. And we do a lot or try to do a lot of industry education to
Okay.
help the people that are coming into the program, into the field, and tried to carry that over to what we do with ELFA and how we work with them and broader organizations. But I think that's really important because there there's a lot of gray hair that's leaving our industry pretty
Yeah,
rapidly.
I agree.
And some of this stuff, the people coming in, like I say, due to COVID, some other things like that, they haven't gone through the traditional training that a lot of us did. And so that three-dimensional aspect of what the units are, what they do, what you can see, what you can't see, how much you can hide in pictures. So we try to
Hide in
give back to
photos.
the industry.
God, yeah, it's like God. This is photo real. I almost cringe when I think of what someone could do to manipulate. Hey, yeah, look at here you go. Here it is. Here's a photo.
Uh,
It's like
I was
what?
on site with a few people from a bank recently, and we were doing just a walk around the yard, just to go look and see and picking out the assets that they were mainly involved with. And a lot of them, everybody's got a lot of box trucks, a lot of vans. And I saw one there and I said, okay, from this angle, tell me what you see here. And the truck looked good. Everything kind of, here, there was a little thing here. And I said, okay, now let's walk around to this side. The roof was peeled off. From one angle, hey, guess what? It looked really nice. You walk to the other angle, and guess what? It was rolled back like somebody took a can opener to it. And so it's what you can see and what can be hidden.
Now, are you liable for that if it doesn't show up in the same condition that it appears, or is it because it's behind it and you didn't see it? Is it your SOL because of it?
When something arrives on site, we do our
Yeah.
best to identify and disclose everything to it because we have two sets of customers, we being Ritchie Brothers. We have the consigner and we have the buyer, and we
Okay.
need them both to come back to us multiple times. So it's full disclosure. If for any
Okay.
reason the buyer doesn't want something disclosed that is evident on the equipment, they need to go to somebody else because we will
Okay.
tell the sellers, this is what we know about it. This is our understanding. We will try to picture it and make everybody aware. We
Okay.
want it to be an honest marketplace where it goes back. It's real simple. How would you want people to treat you if you were
Oh no,
buying?
absolutely.
What
I
would
just
you
wasn't
want to
sure
know?
if
And so,
if it's one of
yeah,
those scenarios where it's like you get like this aerial or view of like a lot, and it's like, hey, Ritchie Brothers, do you guys want this lot for X number of dollars, and you guys can go sell it for whatever, and then you show up and you're just like, what is this garbage?
no, there are times we buy and we sell, and we can do different. We have different ways of workings. A lot of times it's straight consignments. We could purchase. We can work together on different ways. So the scope and scale of Ritchie Brothers allows a lot of
Sure.
flexibility when it comes to how we put together deals and everything else. But going back to what you were saying before, we want people to look at the inspection reports very close. And whether you're dealing with Ritchie Brothers or anybody else, this is broad.
Sure.
Look at the inspection reports, ask for information. If you have the opportunity, go out, look at it yourself, have somebody go on site to look at it. Because for the most part, the only guarantee that comes with this equipment is that old Arkansas 50/50. Well, that's where, when you pick it up and it breaks in half going out the gate, you get to keep both halves. So check it out first. And whoever
Huh.
you're buying from should be very willing to disclose any information that's available to them. Sometimes you can't figure out if somebody, what's the compression rate and ratio in the engine right now, beyond our ability. If you want to come check it out, come look and see. But you should feel comfortable in whatever type of auction, whatever type of buying scenario, asking those detailed questions, ensuring that you're getting the information.
Well, and I'm sure over your 23-year career just at Ritchie, you've probably seen almost every scenario, which is phenomenal. So you can
Oh,
almost see it
there
coming.
yeah, there've been a bunch. I mean, and there have been times where, hey, we sold something, we represented it as this, and it wasn't. Okay, entirely on us. Guess what? Our job to take it back. We collapse the
Mhm.
sale. Just as simple as, trying to figure out what's the right thing to do. If we represented something as a small unit having a diesel engine and it's got a gas engine, okay, that's materially different. Hey, our fault. Sorry. Yeah.
Yep.
So you try to do the right thing because again, we need that buyer to come back to us. We need them to have confidence in our ethics and our representation of those products. And we also need the consigner, on an ongoing basis.
Sure. I mean, you're investing so much in getting them there, right? Between the educational
Yeah.
sessions, just the travel and everything else. If they have a bad experience, I mean, you just blew a potential long time, you know, purchaser. So,
Well, that's what I talk to our management about. And, one of the examples I use a lot is one of those things. If you have a bad experience at a restaurant, how often do you go back?
well, not only
You
that
know,
though, is how many people are you going to tell that you had a bad experience with
yeah.
too? Like that's almost the worst part. It's not just losing your business. It's oh, it's terrible. Oh no. Oh, I can't believe this. And it's like negative news spreads faster than positive
Oh,
news.
yeah. It's,
Unfortunately, but
yeah, it used to be the three fastest forms of communication were what? Telegraph, telephone, and tell a sorority girl. Well, okay, you tell how far that goes back. And so, but yeah, bad news travels even faster. People are very willing to share, bad experiences. Where good experiences, well, that worked out okay.
go back to the phone. Hmm.
Exactly. And that's why it's so critical to try to do this on such a broad scale. And when you're working with the volume of people that attend our sales, that sign up to bid, and the number of different touch points and experiences, it's a lot. I mean, people don't realize it, but we're measuring our sales in many billions of dollars worldwide. And the number of people, both consigners, buyers, everything else, plus with the analytics we do, with the purchase of IAA, Rouse, Iron Planet going further back, bringing all those different companies into play, bringing the ethics up to a level that we want to exceed expectations and the service levels. And there are a lot of challenges with that. There really are when you're dealing with as big as we've gotten to be. But that's the focus is
Sure.
keep pushing that service level up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing. There's a few other things. There's a few other things I want to get to. I mean, you and I could probably talk for just hours on this stuff because it's something you're passionate about and something that I'm passionate about.
And this
But
is only with coffee.
right, I'm almost done, but whatever. Here, um, from a current state of the industry, obviously, we're I don't even know what two full years removed from COVID. I mean, are we still removed from COVID? Probably not from a residual perspective, and that's what we're all dealing with now. But let's talk about that and kind of where we're at today, and then what do you think, for 2025, Wade?
What I see on the COVID side of it, everybody is now aware of supply chain issues, restrictions, constrictions, liabilities, risk, how that can just devastate your ability to supply equipment to your customers. Um, and so it's now as that has eased up, what steps can all these different manufacturers, companies take to to mitigate? You can't eliminate the risk, but you can mitigate, and you have a game plan. Before, most people didn't even have a game plan.
Sure.
It had been working the other direction to streamline, consolidate, so everything hit perfectly because we got spoiled. Everything did work perfectly. There wasn't any derailment, and this showed us that, ooh, okay, that's great when it works, but so I think there's much more awareness of that and a greater appreciation for trying to figure out just exactly the volume and timing of market requirements for their given products because you've seen it now how during the COVID years you couldn't get supply pretty much everything, shelves were empty, and right now everything's full. You go by any dealer yards, I don't care if they're selling cars, trucks, what, everybody has plenty of inventory. There's no shortage of any type of industrial equipment that I'm aware of right now, whether it's material handling, anything. Everybody has plenty, and how that impacts the price. And so it's a matter of the manufacturers trying to adjust on the fly very quickly, by the way, to what those supply demands are. And so that's going to continue to be a challenge into next year. Now, this is Wade's world. This is not Ritchie Brothers. Let me just hide this. And so that's my official disclaimers. Okay, Wade's world versus Ritchie Brothers. So, uh, yeah, I think we're going to see some challenges because the supplies that are available, the inventory in that dealers have right now, the size of their rental fleets, again across multiple different industries, everybody's stocked up. And a lot of people are kind of tapped out on their financing as far as how much they have available in floor plans, other access to capital, and how many of your big banks are financing transportation assets right now, other than for their known established customers. It's not many.
Not funny at all.
So that contributes to the downward momentum. And right now with transportation, I think hopefully we're kind of bottoming out. I don't see a lot of different ways to connect the dots upwards yet. We'll see. Hopefully, there'll be maybe less regulatory constrictions coming up, and that may free up some of the commerce, may increase some things. There could be more tariffs that could slow import. We'll see. Right now, too early to tell. By the time we get into first quarter towards second, I think you'll have a lot better idea. Um, I know at ELFA will be hosting a presentation, trucks, transportation stuff. And by then, we should have some pretty good market data from some of our sales that happened in February. And so that
Okay.
should give us some real time data points that we'll be able to share with people that attend the conference and
Okay.
give them some trend lines based on very real time data. That's what we're hoping to be able to do. And then
Okay.
you can take that data and however you want to plug it into your systems.
Perfect. And that would be at what, the equipment management conference in Vegas? Is that
Correct.
is that what you're doing? Okay.
Yeah, because that follows immediately after our Orlando sale. And so, as a matter of fact, that is sorry,
It's the end of February because
that'll
SFIG
be
is the
the
same.
23rd. Yeah, starts the 23rd of February. Registration is going to open up, I think, very early in December,
Okay.
and that
That'd be a great time to be there. I mean, structured finance is there at the same time.
exactly.
So there's going to be, I mean, I just happened to look at the calendars and I'm like, really? They overlap?
Yep.
So
And
it might
the
be
networking
my first time
opportunities.
going there.
Okay.
So I typically
Uh,
don't go.
yeah. So that should be a great event. Just the networking opportunities to visit with people that do the same thing, similar ideas like that, and that way, what's popular? If you need to phone a friend for some help, guess what? You'll have a list of friends you can phone because if you can check with somebody who has that experience or dealt with it, before it's kind of like, hey, when we were talking out there in Vegas, you mentioned, okay, now I'm dealing with this. What did you do right? What did you do wrong? What would you
Sure.
and to be able to do that versus simply to, take your best guess based on whatever you can find with your thumbs. Um,
Every time I look at my phone today, I'm just gonna think about you with your thumbs.
it's
It's good.
it's a very valuable tool, but you know what? You still call it a phone for a reason because you can use it to talk to people and go, "Hey,
Hey,
what,
I thought
where's
I
the
thought you just text people. Well, who calls people nowadays? Right? Come on.
Well,
Just kidding.
the people I deal with kind of, laugh and everything because when they send me a text or something, they'll probably start their stopwatch on. Let's see how long it takes them to call. Because if you text or send me an email, I'm going to call you back. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out, and we'll confirm it with an email.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's no mess. There's no. I'm like, stop it. There's an electronic footprint. It's in my brain. Okay, stop it.
Yeah.
Imprint, whatever we want to call it. Um, so Wade,
Well,
I asked. Oh, go ahead, sir.
oh, I was just going to say, and that's where you can help people because sometimes I get an inquiry, and I no names or anything attached to this, but somebody recently asked me about a Terex crane, and all they gave me was it was a crane and a model, and what do you think it's worth? It's kind of like I have a Ford F-150. What's it worth?
So is that where you send the Doctor Evil meme? $1 million, just to, like, his smart ass back to him at that point.
No, it's just kind of like, hey, depending on how old, whatever. It's like I say, a crane. There's so many different options, attachments that go onto it, and it was kind of like, okay, we need to talk. Don't type. And that's when you have that discussion. And then you can figure out, does it have a jib? What type of jib? Does it have an auxiliary winch? What type? How many, miles out? Anyway,
How
you
many
go,
hours does it have on it? Like
yeah.
that? Like, really?
And the scary part is there's certain people that do similar things to what Ritchie Brothers do that would answer them with some specificity on what the value might be. And that's just wrong because based on
It's
that
scary.
information, I can't give anybody any information that they could use in any kind of business decision whatsoever. I mean,
No.
literally, your the value, the range is hundreds of thousands of dollars, and so you've got to narrow it down. And whoever told this person to ask the question, I need to talk to them and just let me put this in context, okay? So that's part of the training. That's part of what we try to,
Sure.
and that's something that ELFA is very good at too, bringing that awareness to what you need to do your job. And even if an executive with a really big title asks you that question, you've got to ask them some questions back, or no matter what happens, you're going to give them the wrong answer. And
Sure.
it's going to be my
Sure.
fault. It's not going to be your fault. It's going to be my fault because I
You
gave you
gave
an
the wrong
answer.
number. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like I have a 5,000 square foot house. How much is it worth? It was built 4 years ago.
yeah. How?
Give me a
What about
ballpark.
that fire last week? Yeah,
Yeah.
that lightning strike.
You can't tell there's a fire from the aerial footage of my house.
Yeah, that's right. It was only the back half that burned.
Yeah, exactly. It's cropped out.
But
It's interesting.
that's what a lot of this brings to light is that awareness and hopefully the confidence to ask those questions and be a little probing. And for so many people that we deal with, when the salespeople are saying, "I've got to have an answer right now, and all I can give you is make, model, and serial number," no problem. The answer is no. There's no reason they shouldn't give you, especially for new equipment financing, the long form of the invoice. It should be like a window sticker on a car. It should give you all the details, everything that you need to go in the file. If you have that, you can make a good business decision. If all you have is it's a cat D8 serial number XYZ, no, you don't know if it has a ripper or a winch. Maybe it's
Sure.
set up for coal. You have no idea. You can't answer the question accurately.
Sorry, my dog is.
That's what dogs do.
And yeah, thank you, Wade, for for sharing that. Sorry, dog distracted.
No.
I ask everyone who comes on the program to, even though we've dug into some fun facts about yourself in regards to geology and everything else, um, outside of equipment finance, what do you like to do? What do you and Shelly like to do? What do you like to do outside of work?
Oh, that's pretty good. Well, we just found out we're going to receive new titles, grandmother and granddad. So that's going to be a big deal. That'll be
Congratulations.
my daughter, and so sometime in May,
Oh,
that's
congratulations.
so we have that news that's very recent. Of course, my son just getting married and everything. So
Okay.
uh, it's all wrapped around family. It really has been, and so now with both out and both, into their own lives and everything, we're kind of in that period where it's kind of like, okay, we're kind of looking at like what next? We found out we could coexist together during COVID, and so that was really good. Fortunately, I've had a home office for a long time, so I didn't have that radical transition a lot of people did, and so, but um, no, that's one of those things that we're looking to see, and uh, it is great that she is able to travel with me, and she does after 20 plus years with Ritchie Brothers. She does. She knows so many of the people I work with, and and has for a long time, and so can be part
It's
of that.
fantastic. But now she just has more justification where it's like, "Hun, I want to go in a day early and sit by the pool. Remember that time? Remember that time? Remember that time?"
Yeah, and a lot of what she does, she writes children's books, and so she's an author
Interesting.
and does some of that. So she's got a couple she's published and a couple of other books, and she's in the midst. I can tell when she starts writing because post-it notes start going up everywhere, and she starts, getting buried and taking her notes and everything. So she's working on another one now, and
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
I stay back. I don't
I
offer
was
to
gonna
help.
say, I was gonna say, what point in her note taking process do you just walk in and say, "Hey, hey, get out, get
None
out,
whatsoever. I
get
offered
out
to
of
bring
here"?
her some coffee or tea or whatever, and, you know, so
It's awesome.
smarter than that.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. Well, Wade, I really appreciate your time this morning, sir. It's a pleasure getting to know you a little bit more, know more about Ritchie Brothers. Look forward to our paths crossing. I'm sure it'll happen before February, but worst case scenario, it'll be February in Vegas. And yeah, just wishing you and your family congratulations on being, soon to be grandparents. It's awesome.
Yep.
And, happy holidays, sir.
All right. Best to you and happy Thanksgiving, and I appreciate the time. All the best.
All right, sir. Have a good day. Take care.